Following its Western launch on Steam in early February, Lost Ark has proven itself hugely popular, attracting millions of players all desperate to explore the vast world of Arkesia for themselves. We here at Rock Paper Shotgun have been playing the game for a few weeks now, and are all but certain that many fresh-faced players will be asking the same questions we did when we first booted up the game. Questions such as, how can I make sense of this complicated user interface? What's the difference between a roster and a combat level? Which class should I pick? And most importantly, why isn't my gunslinger wearing any trousers? Well, luckily for you, I'm here to provide helpful answers to all of your burning questions, apart from the trousers one. That one's a genuine mystery, I'm afraid. So whether you're brand new to the world of Lost Ark, or are just looking for some helpful pointers to assist you as you embark on your journey, here are 10 tips to help you get started. The hardest decision when starting any new MMO is choosing a class for your digital avatar. Classes grant your character specific abilities and skills, and usually force you to use one specific type of weapon. For instance, a warrior uses close-range melee weapons to deal blunt force damage to their foes, whereas a gunner utilises long-range firearms to slaughter baddies from afar. Chances are you're going to be spending many hours with your newly created character, so it's important to make sure you pick something that feels consistently fun and rewarding to you as a player. Lost Ark lets you pick from one of 5 base classes: a warrior, a gunner, a mage, an assassin, and a martial artist. Once you've made your decision, you're then asked to select from 2 or 3 advanced classes unique to your chosen base class. This means that there are a whopping 15 options for you to choose from, with each of these 15 SKUs behaving completely different from one another. Now, if you're anything like me, a person who gets overwhelmed choosing which type of mayonnaise to buy whenever he visits a supermarket, is light different from regular? I'll never know. 15 different options is around 11 too many for my brain to consider. Thankfully, Lost Ark includes a couple of nice features that allows you to preview each of the 15 classes before you devote yourself to one specific choice. On the class selection menu, select a class, then click on the Advanced Class Preview button to see your options. You can even watch a short clip demonstrating each of the advanced classes available for your selected class. The clip should give you a pretty good idea of the combat speciality of each advanced class. Once you've roughly decided which class works best for you, you'll then be given an opportunity within the game's tutorial section to actually test out the available advanced classes before you make your final decision. Here you can spawn both enemies and a boss before blitzing them with a roster of unique abilities. It's a shame you have to pick a class before you can test out the advanced classes in-game, but maybe this is something the developers will eventually change further down the line. As Lost Ark is an MMO, all advanced classes fall within the usual categories of tank, a class that can both inflict and soak up lots of damage, support, a class that can heal and buff their party members, and DPS, a class that can swiftly dispatch monsters without diverting attention away from the tank. If you're planning to run through the game with pals, it's best to coordinate with them before making your decision to ensure together you can create the best team possible to take on the game's toughest content. For the record, we recommend the Berserker Warrior class, Gunslinger Female Gunner class, and the Bard Mage class. They offer fun gameplay mechanics that aren't too complicated for newcomers to get to grips with, meaning you can start pulling off cool moves with ease as soon as you start playing. Speaking of combat, Lost Ark's fighting systems are a little different to what you may expect when you first boot up the game. Viewed from an isometric perspective, it's easy to assume that Lost Ark borrows a lot of its mechanics and systems from Blizzard's classic ARPG Diablo, but although this is true to a degree, Lost Ark is still very much a traditional MMO and features all of the usual trappings that come with the genre. Basically, it's essential that you use your abilities constantly. separately, chaining them together to maximize your damage or healing potential. Some moves accommodate combos and can be paired with others to boost their effectiveness. Others require you to hold the key down to either channel them or charge them up before unleashing them at your foes. Our best advice is to experiment constantly, especially in the game's earlier areas. Find a group of horrible monsters and mess around with your abilities. The quicker you can build up that muscle memory for which keys you need to hit to perform powerful combos, the easier your time with the game will become. While we're on the subject of skills and abilities, it's important to make sure you're constantly improving them using the skill menu. Every time you level up your combat level, you're given a number of skill points that can then be used to both enhance and unlock abilities for your character. Once you've put a certain amount of points into a skill, you'll be able to improve that ability by choosing from one of a number of modifiers. These modifiers can drastically alter the way an ability behaves, so if you find yourself struggling in an encounter, it may be worth thinking about your character's weaknesses and how your ability modifiers can be changed to fill those gaps. Thankfully, modifiers and indeed your skills themselves can be respec'd at any point, so definitely play around to see which combinations work best for you. Let's talk leveling up, as Lost Ark handles this a little differently compared to a traditional RPG. Experience points earned by completing quests and killing monsters contribute towards two separate leveling systems, your combat level and your roster level. Your combat level is tied to your current character, tracking their progress as you work your way through the game. Each time you level up your combat level, you're rewarded with some skill points that can be used to improve your character's various abilities. Your roster level, on the other hand, is tied to your account and applies to all of your characters, not just the one you're currently playing as. When you level up your roster level, you're rewarded with account-wide stat boosts that improve everything from vitality to strength. Basically, the more you play, the more you're enhancing your entire roster of warriors. It's a neat little feature that ensures you're always making progress regardless of who you're playing as. Once you complete Lost Ark's fairly lengthy prologue, the amount of on-screen clutter that appears is, quite frankly, ridiculous. If you're new to MMOs especially, you'd be forgiven for having an adverse reaction to the overwhelming number of buttons and doodads on screen at any given time. There's your inbox, your free-to-play currency screen, skill trees, inventories, character sheets, mounts, pets, quests, adventure logs, cards, maps. It's a lot. Too much, arguably. Thankfully, a lot of this stuff can be ignored, as the majority of Lost Ark's cool, game-changing systems don't really kick in until you reach the level 50 cap and unlock the end-game content. Until then, all you need to focus on is your inventory, which you can quickly access by pressing the I key to make sure your pockets aren't full and that you have the best gear equipped. Pressing K brings up your skills menu, which allows you to unlock new abilities and enhance your favourites. Pressing the N button will let you view your adventure tome, which we'll circle back to in a moment, while the C key brings up your character menu, which lets you view your current equipment, as well as allowing you to mess around with your cosmetics, which change the visual appearance of your character regardless of what gear you have equipped. This is why, for instance, my gunslinger is wearing trousers rather than ridiculous hot pants. Far more practical. It's also worth claiming your daily login bonuses, which you can grab by clicking this button up here. You then need to claim them by accessing your inbox. Lost Ark is a free-to-play game, after all, so you may as well take advantage of its attempts to keep you engaged. Free stuff is nice. Treat yourself. Why not? If you are interested in engaging with some of Lost Ark's more complicated systems a little earlier than intended, then I'd recommend you take a look at the card deck panel. Cards are collectible items earned in dungeons and raids, from rapport quests, or by opening packs. At launch, Lost Ark contains multiple different sets, with the game encouraging you to complete them all. Once you've found a card, it can then be added to a deck. Decks consist of 6 cards, with cards belonging to the same set offering you stat boosts for your current character. Cards can help you defeat certain enemies or complete specific dungeons, so it's worth swapping out the cards in your deck on a regular basis to ensure you're always operating at peak efficiency. At the start of your adventure, you're given an adventure tome. This nifty little thing is essentially a tracker that charts how much stuff you've discovered in your current location. Completing quests, killing enemies, and uncovering specific points of interest all contribute towards a percentage score. The more you discover, the more goodies you can claim from this screen. Make sure you're always keeping an eye on it, especially when you're just getting started, as some of the items it rewards you with will prove helpful on your journey towards level 50. This isn't particularly helpful, but whatever, it's a fun one, so I'm going to mention it anyway. Holding down left control, then using the scroll wheel on your mouse changes your cursor colour and shape. Like I say, completely pointless, but a nice little feature. On a similar note, pressing left alt and the X button together will hide the UI, allowing you to take nice screenshots of your lovely character. Aww. Although Lost Ark may not throw loot at you with the same speed and density as a Diablo or a Torchlight, you'll still find your inventory overflowing with stuff after a few hours killing enemies and completing quests. It's important, then, to keep on top of your clutter at all times, so you always have room in your pockets for a nice hat, or perhaps a shiny pair of shoulder pads. Storage keepers, found primarily in towns, function as the game's banks, and will hold on to any important items you want to keep but have no use for at the moment. For useless junk, however, you have one of two options. The first is to sell it for silver to any of the game's various merchants. The second is to dismantle it, which you can do at any point. Dismantling gives you a couple of junk items, but also has the chance of giving you some more valuable gear because video game logic. These bonus items can then be sold or dismantled again if you just enjoy destroying things over making a profit. Personally, I'd recommend dismantling over selling for a number of reasons. For starters, there's the chance you get more free stuff, so that's always nice, but it also means you don't have to rely on finding a merchant in order to free up space in your inventory. Time is money, after all, and you can still sell the dust you create when dismantling for money. So time is money, and dust is money. Dust is money. What am I saying? Let's move on. Finally, if your goal is to get to Lost Ark's tantalizing endgame content as quickly as possible, then my tip is just to focus on main story quests and nothing else. Side quests may provide additional narrative, or Lost Ark's interpretation of that word anyway, but compared to main story quests, they reward you with a paltry amount of all-important XP. Killing enemies also provides you with very little experience, so I'd also recommend ignoring the roaming hordes of baddies as you travel towards your next objective marker. Be the pacifist you've always dreamed of being. Unless you're killing critters as part of a story objective. Those are fine to kill, encouraged even, slaughter away. Mainline those story quests and you'll reach that elusive endgame content in no time. It's worth mentioning that when you do finally hit level 50, you'll be given what's known as a power pass. This pass can be used to quickly boost another of your characters to level 50. You'll then be given another power pass, although after you've used that one, you won't be given any more. You've had 2 desserts. Now it's time to eat your dinner again. Sorry, you'll have to either run through the campaign all over again or use in-game currencies to level them up higher. It's a good thing each class is so much fun to play as, really. Could be worse. So there we have it, 10 tips to get you started in Lost Ark. Think I've missed something important? Help each other out in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.